Wouldn't it be amazing if we could just hire and lead people who were perfectly suited to execute in every area of their job responsibilities? And while we're on the topic, it'd also be great if they were interpersonally charismatic and gifted and just a real joy to work with. And also, they should probably be capable of a lot of strategic, big picture thinking, but probably also really detail oriented and precise, capable of creating order out of chaos. And also, if they could be great communicators and analytical, that'd be fantastic. Essentially, unicorns, right? But if you're a leader, you know you're in the business of people and unfortunately not unicorns. And people are beautifully complex. We're a mix of strengths and weaknesses and everything in between. But the way that we as leaders respond to the weaknesses of our employees will shape their employee experience, their employee engagement, their performance, not to mention the overall health of our organization. Hi there, welcome to People Ops Problems. I'm Leanne and I'm an HR and People Ops consultant and keynote speaker, and I specialize in helping leaders engage and retain and develop their employees. And today I'm going to share with you 4 strategies for dealing with employee weaknesses. And so we're going to jump right in and talk about 4 ways that you can help your employees manage their weaknesses, grow through their weaknesses, and really hopefully make your life a little bit easier as their leader, right? So the first strategy for dealing with your employee weaknesses may actually feel like we're cheating, but bear with me. And that is invest in strengths, not in weaknesses, right? So stick with me. When an organization doesn't focus on the strengths of their employees, according to the Gallup organization, the chances of an employee being engaged in an environment like that is a dismal 1 in 11. That works out to 9%. However, when an organization invests in strengths and when their employees say that the leadership focuses on strengths, the chances of them being engaged jumps from that 9% to 73%. So almost 3 in 4 employees are engaged in environments where their leadership is focusing on investing in strengths instead of weaknesses. When employees say that they get to use their strengths every day, when they get to focus on their strengths every day, they are 3 times as likely to report having a high quality of life, 6 times as likely to be engaged in the job, and they experience almost 8% higher individual productivity than those employees who are focusing on their weaknesses and fixing their weaknesses. And this is not to mention, okay, actually I am going to mention all the additional organizational outcomes that you see when you choose to focus on strengths instead of weaknesses, like higher employee engagement overall, higher retention, right? So turnover is going down. That's really important. It's really important right now, but it's always been important. Things like customer service scores go up. Not to mention, again, here I am. I'm going to mention it. Profitability, financial performance is higher too in organizations where they invest in strengths. So the first strategy for thinking about how to improve employees' weaknesses is actually to tweak our mindset around it. That we want to, instead of pouring our time, energy, and resources into improving weaknesses, when truthfully our employees are not going to grow that much with that strategy anyway, we want to pour our time, energy, and resources into strengths-based development. Okay, so that's strategy number 1. Invest in strengths, not in weaknesses. The second strategy that we're going to talk about with respect to employee weaknesses is actually just to get good perspective on what is a weakness and what is the nature of this weakness that my employee is struggling with. So one misconception about a strengths-based approach that frankly just drives me bonkers is this idea that by focusing on strengths and investing in strengths, that means we're ignoring weaknesses and it's sort of like participation trophies for everybody. But that could not be further from the truth. When you really invest in strengths development for your employees, you actually equip them with tools to better regulate their weaknesses, to manage around their weaknesses. The Gallup organization defines weakness, I really like this definition here, as just anything that gets in the way of our success. And I like to think about employee weaknesses as kind of landing in one of 4 buckets. Now, it's true, Every issue that you deal with your employees is not going to fall into one of these perfect buckets, but it's probably going to get close. So the first two buckets aren't going to really be the focus of our video today, but the latter two will be. But I want to share all four with you. The first bucket of kind of employee weakness is in weakness that just is a reflection of lack of talent or lack of experience or just skill in a particular area, not having the reps in yet as an employee, right? So this is actually the easiest kind of weakness to overcome, theoretically, because what you're doing here is just equipping and learning and development training and probably some coaching around those skills to get them experience. So that's bucket one. Bucket two of employee weaknesses is probably the hardest to deal with, and that is also, sadly, not the focus of today's video. I'll save that for a different day. But that bucket is about weaknesses that relate to an employee's character, their integrity, their trustworthiness, their ability to make moral, ethical decisions, and also kind of aligns with, issues you may have around their core values. So that's bucket two. Bucket 3 and 4 is where I really want to focus today, because this is where I see leaders and organizations make the most impact. So bucket 3 would be weaknesses that exist because of a lack of talent or strength, right? So for example, I am perhaps the least adaptable person that you'll ever meet. So hi, I'm Leanne. I very much dislike surprises. I am geared towards routine and structure and predictability and efficiency and calendars, beautifully manicured calendars. And so because my natural talents lie more in the areas of structure and routine and predictability when it comes to how I execute my tasks, it makes sense, and it has made sense to my leaders in the past, that I struggle more with adaptability than other employees do, right? But the reason I struggle with it is because of natural talent and strength that I have. So your charge as a leader then is to get curious about the strengths and the talents of your team members and see if you can come up with a theory as to why they are struggling with something specific, why they have a weakness in a particular area. Another example I see all the time with organizations I work with is maybe you have an individual who is so naturally talented in areas of creativity and idea generation, and they're innovative and they're out of the box. And because their brain is wired and built for creativity and innovation and novelty, they're maybe the opposite of me. They struggle a little bit with administrative tasks and organization and structure and predictability and efficiency. And again, that's not to put every creative person in a box, but just to say that when you start evaluating people in terms of their strengths and talents, it allows for some grace to flow, because now you go, oh, the reason Leanne is not so adaptable is because she has this talent and strength in this particular area. So for your employees, get curious. What are those talents and strengths that might help explain their areas of weakness, right? So that's bucket number 3. Bucket number 4 is maybe my favorite to talk to teams and leaders about, and that is weaknesses that exist because of an over application or a misuse of our talents and strengths. So if bucket 3 is these weaknesses exist because we are more talented in other areas, weakness 4 would be, hey, I'm misapplying talent and strength I have, right? Or I'm dialing it up too much and it needs to be dialed down for this situation. So with this one, the question would be, how can I explain the weaknesses of my employee in light of their talents and strengths, but kind of looking at it from the other side of the coin, right? That, oh, maybe the reason that they're being perceived in team meetings as very argumentative or abrasive is because they are very gifted in, analytical strength and ability. And so because they are analytical and they're always in a search for the truth and value objectivity, they're dialing that up in a meeting too much to the point that it's having interpersonal impacts that aren't great for the team, right? So you want to think about your employees' weaknesses in light of those 4 buckets. Get perspective about their weaknesses. That's strategy number 2. Strategy number 3 is to create a culture of self-expression around weaknesses, right? So this is a powerful exercise for leaders, or discipline, I should say, for leaders. get comfortable talking about your own weaknesses and your own blind spots with your team members. So if I share with my team members that, hey, I struggle with adaptability because I'm, more naturally gravitating towards structure, by doing so, not only am I helping my employees learn what they can expect of me on my best days and my worst days or at my worst moments, and how they can work with me more productively, but I'm also sending messages to them that, hey, on this team, we own our weaknesses and we're not afraid to name them, because we need the diversity of talent that exists on our team for us to reach our goals. And we can actually cover for one another's weaknesses if we're open about them and if we're honest about the areas of our role where we feel really naturally aligned and the areas that are a struggle for us, or the tasks that don't come naturally because of our talents or strengths, or issues we're having because we're dialing them up or misapplying them, right? So with respect to your employees, I want you to think about their weaknesses in light of, not only those 4 buckets we talked about in strategy number 2, but also how can you help them grow in self-expression around those weaknesses so they get comfortable naming them and owning them, so that then we can go to strategy 4, which is all about self-regulation. And as a leader, your role in this process is to manage around their weaknesses whenever you can, and to set them up for success in light of their strengths, right? Design around their weaknesses. So the questions that you could ask yourself are, hey, who could I partner this employee with who would really complement them well on this project or initiative, right? So that they can cover for one another's weaknesses. One person who brings energy in starting a project may not necessarily be the one who brings energy around sustaining it, right? That would be me, that person who likes to sustain. Sometimes I struggle more with the creativity, innovation piece because of my natural talents and strengths. So the goal then is for you to help them grow in self-regulation, and for you to learn how to design and manage around their weaknesses. Hey, where am I setting my people up for success versus where am I actually setting them up for a lot of discouragement and stress and failure? Where am I expecting something from them that, as it turns out, doesn't come very naturally, and they're probably not going to demonstrate as much competence in that area because of the other talents and strengths that they bring to the table. Strategy 3 is self-expression. Strategy 4 is all about self-regulation. So if you can do these 4 things, if you can invest in the strengths instead of the weaknesses, if you can get good perspective and get curious about the unique weaknesses of your employees, if that then can lead you to build a culture of self-expression around weakness, which will lead to really, hopefully, good self-regulation around your weaknesses. How do we aim our talents that do come naturally at those weaknesses to get to the outcomes that we need? That's the ultimate question when it comes to our weaknesses. How do we get those weaknesses out of the way so that we can be successful, right? And so I hope that this was a helpful exercise for you to think through some of these things for your employees. I also hope that it gave you an opportunity to think through some of these things with respect to yourself. So there you have it, 4 strategies for dealing with your employees' weaknesses. As always, thank you for being here and for sticking around till the end if you're still here. If this content was engaging and helpful for you, please consider liking and subscribing and sharing and doing all the things that would help this message get to other leaders who could really benefit from it. That's it for now. Hope to see you next time. I hope you have a wonderful week. Bye.